There are 27 million slaves in the world today, more than at any other time in human history. Men, women, and children held against their will.
Slavery is what it's always been. It's people forced to work under a threat of violence, paid nothing, and they can't walk away.
At the third day, it's when he told me that he had bought me, that I was his slave, that he paid $200 for me.
Freedom of movement was something I was not aware of, didn't know it existed. And it wasn't just me. My mother, my father, my grandparents had to live through this generation after generation.
My hands got cut. The owners boiled the oil, closed my eyes, and put my fingers in it.
That would hurt terribly. The wound would not heal, and we were made to start weaving again.
Life below the slave owners was complete hell.
Slavery is not legal anywhere, but thriving everywhere.
There's a concentration of slaves in South Asia, Southeast Asia, North and West Africa. And the jobs that they're doing are dirty, demeaning, dangerous jobs.
Most people in slavery today are enslaved overseas, but there's a lot of slavery here in the United States as well. People are trafficked in to be slaves in farm fields, for sex slavery, domestic servitude, in factories, you name it. Slavery is literally happening in our backyards.
I used to live right in there, and I ran away from here.
The U.S. government reports that each year at least 14,500 people are trafficked into the United States and forced into slavery. Rose was one of them.
I try to make sure that everything is right so I won't get yelled or get beaten up.
Rose was beaten several times a week. She was enslaved for 2.5 years, not far from a monument dedicated to freedom. Like so many other slaves, 14-year-old Rose was tricked into leaving her home in Cameroon with promises of an education and a good job. It was all a lie. Will you listen? On the other side of the country, Maria also believed a sweet-talking trafficker. She was just a teenager who wanted to earn money to take care of her parents. The housekeeping job sounded perfect.
But it was not a job. It was just a trick, a trap that I fell into.
It was a trap she could not escape. The slave owner threatened to kill her and her family.
He beat me, raped me. Every day he abused me mentally, physically, emotional, spiritual.
It's a coercive physical and mental control that becomes like a chain around your brain and you can't walk away.
Listen, on the wind you hear their voices. In India, thousands of kids have been kidnapped by slave traders or tricked into slavery in the carpet belt. It is impossible to travel through the poor, remote region of Bihar without desperate parents begging for help. Won't you listen? Chiche says his son Huro was just 6 years old when he disappeared with a cousin.
When I couldn't find him, I thought I was going mad. I felt so empty inside because my child was missing. His mother, too, was going mad.
Huro's been gone 5 years. He's never met some of his younger brothers and sisters. Anti-slavery activists think they've found Huro hundreds of miles away in a carpet loom.
I just pray to God that my child will be found. The moment he sets eyes on me, he'll start to weep, and he won't stop.
Chiche comes for the raid on the loom. At last, Chiche has found his son. It's the shame of the nations. If you listen, you will hear. You will hear. In the 1860s, slaves like these were expensive, the equivalent of $40,000 today.
I suppose the most important thing to understand about modern slavery is that slaves are cheaper today than at any time in human history. They're so cheap, they're like styrofoam cups. You buy them, you use them, you crumple them up, you throw them away. These slaves are really disposable.
The average slave today cost $90. A journalist in the Ivory Coast went undercover and got an even better deal. It took just 30 minutes and $80 to buy these two men. They came from Mali, hoping for a better life. These young men also came from Mali looking for work, but they were enslaved on small farms growing cocoa and other crops.
He said that if anyone escaped, he would be caught and killed.
They demonstrate the beatings they survived. Others weren't so lucky. They've never even tasted chocolate.
When people eat chocolate, they're eating my flesh.
So people watching this may think, well, why don't we just stop buying chocolate? But I have to tell you, that can actually make things worse. We have to make it clear to the multinationals that slavery is too high a price to pay for cheap goods.
And it's not just chocolate. We buy into slavery every day. We wear it, we eat it, we drive it.
Slavery is so horrific, it can be overwhelming, but there's great news. We are really on a roll. We see that people on the ground, people who have been in slavery, have this unquenchable desire to be free and to make sure that their kids have a better life. That's what we all want for our kids. We see business leaders, we see politicians, we see people in power also recognizing that. None of us wants to be a part of slavery. We can kick this.
Slavery's being kicked all around the world. Free the Slaves, a nonprofit organization, works with slaves, grassroots organizations, governments, international organizations, and businesses around the globe to eradicate slavery.
Our goal is not just to free a few people from slavery, but to end it for good. That means we need to take a local view as well as a global view and do everything it takes in between to make it happen.
What we do on the ground is we help people to freedom through lots of different ways, and it looks different in every country that we're working because it's solutions that come from the communities themselves. It's no good us going there and thinking that what works here in America is going to work in these other countries where we're working.
That means supporting work in Haiti as communities end child slavery. That means in Ghana, children are being freed from slavery in fishing villages, taken to a shelter to get healthy before being reunited with their parents. Their parents are taught job skills so that they can feed their families and not be tempted by the false promises of traffickers. In Ghana and the Ivory Coast, for the first time in history, an industry is taking responsibility for slavery in its product chain. The world's chocolate companies are helping communities say no to trafficking and helping survivors rebuild their lives.
Using a Give the Free card today?
I am.
Free the Slaves is beginning to work with other businesses that want to follow the chocolate company's lead. In Sudan, it means helping rebuild the lives of former slaves when they finally get to return home to a land decimated by war. In Nepal, popular street theater written and produced by former sex slaves and performed by local children is just one of the ways young girls are being saved from slavery. In India, entire villages are learning their rights, joining forces, and taking freedom.
My life is so much better that all I can think about is coming generations. They will be even better than mine.
I just don't want for anyone to be slaves.
Former slaves are even being elected to local government. In the carpet belt, children freed from the looms are learning to play again and to read and write for the first time. making them leaders when they return to their villages where almost no one is literate. Huro is forever vaccinated against slavery.
If you are illiterate, anyone can cheat you. If I am literate, no one can cheat me.
Free the Slaves documents what it takes for slaves like Huro and Ramphal to get free, stay free, and to build lives of dignity. Those real-world solutions are then taken to governments, businesses, international organizations that have the power to make real change, the kind of change that's needed to free the world's 27 million slaves. It's working. In Paris, Free the Slaves helped the Mauritanian government write and present a plan to end slavery in Mauritania. Countries and international donors such as the World Bank funded the project. If all goes according to plan, 400,000 people will be freed in the coming years.
The idea of eradication is like a dream come true for all of us in Free the Slaves. This is the big one. This is the big breakthrough. If we can start ending slavery country by country, then we're on the road for global eradication.
The time is right to end slavery forever.
All the stars are aligned in the right constellation. The economics are there, the laws are in place, the moral attitudes are all there, the slaves are ready to work to do what they need to do.
This is our big opportunity. Each of us has the opportunity to make the difference between slavery and freedom for another human being. And if we can do this, we can be the generation to end it.
There are at least 27 million reasons to end slavery, plus one. As long as one of us is enslaved, then none of us are truly free.
If you listen, you will hear.